Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that takes your sources, finds the key takeaways, and serves them right up to you.
That's right. And today, well, we're looking at something I think most of us will recognize.
Oh yeah, that almost overwhelming urge sometimes to be technically right.
That feeling when
Yeah,
you just know you have the correct fact, even if it's tiny.
exactly. So the big question we're trying to tackle is, why? Why do we get so hung up on proving these small points,
Hmm.
sometimes even when it messes up the bigger picture?
And our guide for this is an interesting excerpt. It's titled The Quibble Over Being Technically Right.
Right, and that title gives us our word of the day right there. Quibble.
Yeah, quibble. It's the great word for this. The source points out it has two main meanings. First, it's simply arguing or, complaining about little things, small stuff that doesn't really matter.
Like, okay, was the meeting at 2.15 or 2.16? When really the important part is what happened in the meeting.
Precisely. But the second meaning is maybe even more insightful for our chat today.
Yeah.
It's also about evading the actual point of an argument. You do that by throwing out trivial objections, frivolous stuff. It's almost like a distraction tactic.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can see that. So our mission then for this deep dive is to really get into the weeds on this. Why do we do it? What happens when we do?
And crucially, is there a better way, a more effective approach, all aimed at helping you understand this maybe a bit better?
All right, let's dive in. So that feeling, that need to be technically correct, we've all felt it. The source asks, okay, what's behind it? It mentions the world being stressful. How does stress play into this?
That's a really key point it makes. When we feel under pressure, maybe cornered, or just generally, not in control of a situation we don't like,
Yeah.
there's this almost primal feeling that you need to push back somehow. You need to stand your ground. And being technically right, well, it can feel like the last available way to defend your pride.
Okay. So it's less about the fact itself.
Often, yeah. It's more about asserting yourself, your competence, your sort of psychological space, especially when you're feeling a bit vulnerable or challenged.
That clicks. It's like grabbing a tiny victory when bigger things feel chaotic, or maybe when your status feels a bit shaky. And the source does point out this behavior really stands out in certain people.
Right.
Because, as it says, sometimes we others don't even want to be technically right. We just want to get along and move forward.
Yeah.
That really highlights the friction, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. You've got one person zeroing in on this tiny detail, maybe getting quite intense about it,
Hmm.
while everyone else is trying to reach some, bigger goal. The source is pretty blunt here. It warns against this obsession. It says
Okay.
being obsessed with wanting to be technically right and stomping over the primary goal in the process is the wrong route to go.
Stomping over the primary goal. Yeah, that's strong. It feels good maybe for a second, that little rush of, see, I was right. But what's the actual fallout? What happens in the real world when we get fixated like this?
Well, that quick hit, that short burst of instant gratification, as the source calls it, it warns that it comes with a pretty steep cost. These situations, it says, will only give us a short burst of instant gratification and will further lead the current state to a doom state.
A doom state.
Wow.
That paints a picture.
It does, doesn't it? It suggests things spiraling downwards.
Yeah, you can picture it like a team project maybe.
Yeah.
Arguments about tiny details, deadlines get missed, people get annoyed, communication breaks down,
Exactly.
and the whole thing just collapses.
Yeah.
That's the doom state.
Yeah.
Right? Even though someone won that little argument earlier.
That's precisely the kind of scenario it's warning about. And the alternative it suggests is, well, it's about perspective.
Okay.
It says, sometimes the right answer is one where we make a compromise for the greater good. It's about stepping back, looking at the bigger picture.
So letting go of the need to correct that tiny thing.
If it serves the overall goal, yes. It requires evaluating what truly matters in that moment, rather than just clinging to a fact that might be, frankly, irrelevant to the main objective.
It sounds almost like strategy, like thinking strategically about your interactions.
In a way, yes. The source puts it quite simply towards the end of this thought. We just have to pick and assess our battles.
Pick and assess our battles.
Yeah.
Not every hill is worth dying on, even if you're technically correct about the height of the hill.
Exactly. It's about figuring out what actually helps move things forward versus what just proves a point for its own sake.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap what we've unpacked here in this deep dive. We started with quibbling, arguing about small stuff or using those small points to kind of dodge the main issue.
Right. And then we looked at the why this urge to be technically right. It can be a reaction to stress, feeling cornered. It can be about pride.
Or that last-ditch effort to feel some control when things seem out of control.
hmm But then we saw the downsides, the potential negative consequences, stomping over the main goals, heading towards that doom state.
All for that short burst of instant gratification, which, when you put it like that, doesn't sound like a great trade-off.
No, probably not. But the source doesn't just leave us there. It offers that alternative path.
Right, the idea that sometimes the actual right thing to do involves compromise for the greater good, as it says.
It's about learning to pick and assess our battles, shifting focus.
From, am I correct on this minor point, to what actually helps everyone here?
Exactly. It's a shift from that narrow individual focus to a broader perspective on what benefits the situation, or the team, or the relationship, or whatever the shared objective is.
And I love the image the source paints near the end. It asks you to picture this. A tiny person standing triumphantly on a dictionary, waving a technically correct flag at a confused crowd.
Yeah, it's quite a visual.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
Is that really the victory pose you want? Standing alone on your dictionary while everyone else is just confused or maybe frustrated, having potentially sacrificed a much bigger win for that little flag.
Probably not, when you frame it like that. And maybe that leads us to the final thought the source leaves us with.
Okay.
It says, even a pebble can make ripples if it lands in the right puddle. It's a nice metaphor. It prompts you to think, well, what kind of ripples do you want to create in your interactions?
Does always insisting on being technically right, does that create the ripples you actually want?
Or are there times when other kinds of impacts, ripples of collaboration maybe, or compromise, or just moving things forward together are actually much more valuable, much more meaningful at the end of the day?
Something to definitely mull over as you go about your own conversations and pursue your own goals.